What?
Shavuot Tov?
No, that's it. We're good. All right. You can do
Real
it.
kindness
We're
podcast.
good. There's a podcast going on while this is going on.
We'll explain. Rabbi, thank you for hosting us. Shavuot Tov. Appreciate it. Thank you, Shirat David.
Yes.
Oh my God, you guys are so lucky.
Yeah. So I hope over the Shabbat you had an amazing experience of both just soaking in the Shirat David and Efrat community, meeting with your host families and talking to them about some of their wonderful and amazing journeys. And tonight what we're going to do is...
One minute. We have to also shout out to Rabbi Yaakov Greenberg for an amazing drasha. Everyone was praising it, my wife especially. Loved it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And we just have been so lucky, all of you have been so lucky to really just to get to know this wonderful people who have moved with their families and tried to restart their lives here in Eretz Yisrael and be an active part. And tonight we're going to be hearing from two people who not only have a journey into Eretz Yisrael and a journey into Efrat, but also have really just taken this idea of ichpatiyut, this idea of caring about Am Yisrael, caring about the people in Eretz Yisrael, caring about the Jewish people, and they're one's a rabbi, but they're not rabbis in the classical sense.
Definitely not.
But they are marbitzim Torah, they are marbitz Jewish values, they're marbitz chesed in this world. So B'ezras Hashem we have the great schus to hearing from Yosef Aharon and ELIYAHU, Machon, that's how you want to be called?
Well,
Eli Goldsmith, and it's just a tremendous schut. So the way this is just going to work is that I'm going to start with questions that I prepared beforehand, and then after you guys get to know these two amazing people, we'll open the floor to any additional questions. Okay?
But before you ask your question,
Yes, go ahead.
we're going to sing a song. We're going to sing a niggin.
We'll explain why we're doing this later. But yeah.
This is a niggin that Rav Shlomo Katz had downloaded when he was in the Shuva Junction, when he went to go visit over there.
It's an amazing song.
It's a great song. You guys
You'll be
might-
hearing about it soon.
If you guys haven't heard it, it's pretty catchy. You can sing along, you can hum along, whatever you guys want. All right, ready?
Okay.
Either way.
Shuva Hashem et Shevitenu Gafikim V'Negev. 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 Hazorim B'dima Berina Yitzaru. Hazorim B'dima Berina Yitzaru.
Alright, you'll have to wait till Rav Shlomo releases it, or we sing it again. So, there's a shame. It will come out soon, Rav Shlomo Katz.
So first questions for the panelists. Just if you could both briefly explain your journey to making Aliyah, and then also how do you see living in Eretz Yisrael as part of your Avodat Hashem?
Okay, so in terms of Aliyah, we're in Shirat David, so we have to respect the customs over here and the way of understanding what it means to be in Eretz Yisrael. So, in honor of the place we're in, I'll say that we constantly have to be making Aliyah. That's something which we are all working on, I suppose, as well. Like all of Am Yisrael need to be constantly making Aliyah. It's not something when you arrive to Israel, now you're Yotzi Zion. You've done what you've had to do. I came when I was 18 and I haven't really left in terms of living. I visited London, I visited my hometown, but living in Eretz Yisrael has been now 26, coming on to 27 years, which is unbelievable to think about. And it's a constant process of Aliyah, of developing and growing. Aliyah, you understand, means to constantly grow, like you get an Aliyah B'Torah, you're getting called up. When I moved from Yerushalayim, which I lived many years in Yerushalayim, I moved to Shirat David. they didn't just give me an aliyah and shalom aleichem. They sang the famous Shuva Bonim, which the Guvulam. We're returning back to the. What I was like, I'm making aliyah from Yerushalayim, and people said yes. So from Yerushalayim to Efrat was an aliyah. It's a continual process.
Yeah, it's a constant hitchadshut. So like when you make aliyah, when you get here, you can't be satisfied with the fact that you're here, because if you are, then you will get stuck. You constantly need to, like Eli was saying, and this is the message that Rav Shlomo Katz discusses all the time. Yes, we're here, but we need to constantly grow. We need to constantly renew ourselves, especially what happened over the past 14 or 15 months. I made Aliyah a little over 3 years ago. It was during Corona. It was crazy, but it's the greatest decision that I ever made. And I'm, like Eli said, constantly making Aliyah. It's a constant. If you're not working on yourself, specifically in Eretz Yisrael, you're done.
Yeah,
Mamash.
agreed.
You have to continuously.
If he hadn't made Aliyah, I would not be sitting here in Efrat, because he was our first host for many Shabbatons. He spoke about it last year when we spoke here. The 3 Shabbatons our family had with the Aharons in Efrat was what gave us the push. I was over a year, and that gave us the push to move in. And that was before this beautiful shul being finished and built, and we were up the road and davening in Or Yehuda. A whole different story. So Baruch Hashem, we were able to grow from Yosef Aaron's decision, the Lillians as we call them. We'll discuss that maybe, why we call the Lillians. So their family growth helped us grow and make Aliyah from Yerushalayim to Efrat. So we're all influencing each other. We need to realize that this is a group effort. This is Am Yisrael. This is not just Eli and Yosef. That's why one of the reasons we called our podcast the Real Kindness Podcast. It's not just about us.
Can you also just briefly explain like the story, like where did you guys just come from, and when did you make Aliyah? And I guess Ali, you could explain how many places in Israel you've been to also.
Yeah, wow.
And also, if just add like I know there's a lot, but like 1 or 2 like thought processes, like when did that change of like I was living in wherever you guys are from, and then the switch.
So I made Aliyah from Boca Raton, Florida.
Boca?
Yeah.
Florida.
Where in Florida?
Miami.
All right, cool. Very nice. So, Boca, not Miami. But still. And it was funny because when we first got here, someone asked my wife, they said, I don't understand, you left paradise to come here? And I felt like he gave the greatest answer in the world. She's like, yeah, we left paradise for Gan Eden. So it's one of those things but you have to constantly work to get it to be Gan Eden. You can't stop. You can't just be here and stop. I've wanted to make Aliyah as long as I can remember. People joke that, when I was born with an Israeli flag in my hand. But the Rebbetzin she wasn't on board. And when she decided that she was going to be on board, that's when it happened. It's that simple. And
was there something that just switched, or
in her?
Yeah.
So
did you talk about it? Was there something that?
So I came on a pilot trip in 2015, and when I came back home, I felt like one of the Meraglim, because I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to come. It's not the Eretz Yisrael that I remembered. The last time I was in Israel prior to 2015 was my honeymoon in 2013. We went to Eilat. We were in Eilat for 10 days, and then prior to that, it was when I was in my yeshiva at BMT with Rav Ryan. And I came in 2015, I was like, this is not Eretz Yisrael. This is not what I remember. I don't want to be here. Then I came back in August of 2019, like right before Corona, right? And I fell in love with Eretz Yisrael again. And I came home, and my wife saw that I was like flying high. It's like, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. Israel's awesome. It's like, but 4 years ago, I'm like, I don't know. I can't explain it. I don't know. It's where we need to be. And I kind of left it. And when Corona hit, and the whole balagan was happening in America that summer with the riots and the Meshuggah, whatever, she's like, all right, we need to get out of here. But for me, it was just like, okay, great, I'm coming home. And it's home. It's where we belong. It's where we need to be. It's where we should be. It's where we should be living. It's home.
Yeah, and thank God he did, because we're here now. So, Baruch Hashem, so I came in the 90s, actually, that's how long ago, end of the 90s, 98. I was a secular London guy, like having a good lifestyle, grew up in the music business, entertainment world, so I had everything I needed and used to run clubs. That's where I met my wife, also at the gym. So I was coming from a very secular world, very non-Zionistic background, very pro-British. And so how I got to Eretz Yisrael was a big miracle. The fact that I made it here was also to do with my wife's twin brother who came here, and also just the feeling I needed to explore my tradition. The big question that stood out in my mind as a teenager in secular London was, why am I Jewish? Why am I Jewish? What's this Holocaust? What's this these people that I'm connected with? I don't really know much about my Messiah or anything. I didn't even know that word Messiah. And I had to really explore and search, and the best place to do it would be in Eretz Yisrael. And once I came here at 18, I came as in university. By 19, I was already in yeshiva. Maybe even just before 19, I was already in yeshiva. And then 20, I was already fully engaged here. 21, I was married already. And 22, I was already fully part. And in terms of the amount of places I've lived, I mean, my wife and I, we've done a real sivuv of Yerushalayim and Beit Shemesh, Beitar, now Efrat. But within Yerushalayim, there was at least around 7 moves, and it took a while to really find our place. And thank God, I really appreciate it, because I really met beautiful communities all around, and I feel welcome if I go to Beit Shemesh, Beitar. It's a very different scene over there, but I've still got friends. One of them even works over here in Money Changer, Yossi.
That's your guy?
Yeah, he's one of my old boys. So
I love Yossi.
he's also connected to my Hasidus I'm part of, the Talmud Rebbe, which was also a journey, finding my journey with Rebbes and Tzaddikim, and I very much appreciate that's the Hasidische Zach. The Kalaber Rebbe got me this dromel. So how I got that's a whole story, how we got connected, and he was from the Holocaust. So I feel very blessed that I've met a lot of holy people, a lot of good people, and Efrat for me was a big climax because the community is so strong, and that I wasn't experiencing fully elsewhere. Each time where I was, no judgment on those places, it just wasn't coming together for us personally. And by Hanukkah, we're going to just be moving up the road, because right now we're quite far in Dekel. So we'll be able to, Baruch Hashem, we'll be able to host more and be even more involved than we've been able to these past 2 years. And I'll get to see more of Yosef, more of Yaakov, and Rav Shlomo, and all these beautiful people, and all you see, Leil Shabbos, Shabbat, to miss out on the Kedushas Yerushalayim, yeah, it's fine. Yerushalayim is awesome, but there's no Kabbalah Shabbos like we had here last night in Shirat David, and just appreciate all the blessings that this place has brought for Am Yisrael. And there's a lot of light coming out of this place, a lot of good friends and new friends and old friends, and it's an amazing opportunity. But Aliyah, once again, is not just something it's a continual process, and it grows as you grow with other people around you. And we need to realize that we're all together in this. This is not a lonely journey. And for example, my son, who we'll probably get to, but he's in the army. I might as well say it now. Yeah, he's been fighting since he finished his training Yom Kippur 2023, and then Simchas Torah he was already heading out to fight, and he's been in Gaza he was in Gaza for 11 months, Gaza, and he became a negavist during his time in Gaza because then other negavists got injured. So now, it's intense to think about, but after 5 more missions in Lebanon and a whole week last week in Syria as they call it, Syria, and now tonight we just got the message. We went over to do Bikkur home because it was on Shabbat, unfortunately, so we won't be able to see him, and he's heading out on a mission as the front negavist. So we have to all give extra tefillahs for Brachos of their MASHA. Like this is a current thing, ultimate Mesiras Nefesh for the soldiers and all the soldiers we need to have in mind constantly, and that's been a real game changer, and being part of a frat has helped so much with that. You can imagine as a father, it's not easy, yeah. And the footage I've seen, because he has a GoPro DJI thing, and what you see on the news, he's experiencing, but even way more than the news can capture. And it's amazing. They're amazing young men, and they're constantly fighting for us. He's only 20, so having this community has just been a big saver for me personally, my wife, just having the support. Could it be more? Yeah, everyone can support each other more, and that's once again, Aliyah, we're all growing, So do think about more the soldiers, do think about parents of soldiers, and that's where we're going to get to what Yosef does and how we can actually do something about it.
Yeah, amazing. We should wish your son much success.
Amen. Amen.
So, actually, perfect leading up into the second question, which is, what about Efrat is unique? What drew to Efrat, or by living here, what is unique and special about being in Efrat? And also, specifically in the Shirat David community as well.
So I'll be honest, I don't, Tom Shafour, Rabbeinu Tom, he's a guy who lives here.
Good guitarist.
He says that you don't choose Efrat chooses you, and it's really a myth. Like it really did work out in that way. Well, our family was looking for something specific. We didn't necessarily find exactly what we were looking for, but overall, we felt like Efrat was the right place for us. We made Aliyah. My boys were 16 and 13, so they were older. So we wanted an Anglo area where they would feel comfortable and have a soft landing spot. But I think even on a deeper level. So this week's parasha, Parashat Vayishlach, was my bar mitzvah parasha, and it's just so apropos that I got Aliyah Shishi this week or today, because that's the first time that Efrat is mentioned in the Torah, right? It's the first time. I think it's a Perek Lamed Hey Pasuk Tet Zayin, if I'm not mistaken. And my bar mitzvah, when I read the Torah, I read up until Shishi. So it's almost like it's one of those things where, you'll read up until Shishi, but you'll live out the rest in Efrat. So it's just, I don't know, maybe it's my own crazy machshavot, but
That's beautiful.
But Efrat's an amazing place for so many different reasons. I think where I came from, I was living in East Boca, and it was like a Chafetz Chaim type community, but very, very warm. There were 4 or 5, 6 families that were known to be awesome families. It's I wonder if we're going to get that, when we come to Efrat. And we actually have friends who are here for Shabbat from our old community. And we came out of shul on Friday night, and the wife looked at me and she said, Efrat's East Boca on steroids. Mamash. And I've used that term before. And every family here, each family is great in something, but each family is just as great as the next. And there's just so much chesed. We came during Corona. We got off the bus. There were 20 people waiting for me. Majority of them who I didn't know, in front of my house. When I get off the bus, they're singing the Shavu Banim. It's a community, and it's a family, and it's amazing. What are some of the perks that living here? I think one of the greatest perks is, and it's so underrated, Rosh Shlomo Katz is such a superstar and rock star in so many different ways. Forget about all the Torah that he knows. And he has the ability. It's amazing. We were sitting there in the MASHA Shir this morning saying, we learned this 3 years ago, but I wanted to do it dafka because of this specific, his memory is unbelievable. And he has this gift where when he's talking to you, nobody else in the world matters. There's no one else around. It's MASHA, it's a gift that he has. Just one small little thing. It's not small, it was huge, but about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, it was Rosh Shlomo Carlebach's Yortzeit. And Rosh Shlomo Katz is very close to Hanan Ben Ari. And Hanan Ben Ari showed up at Rosh Shlomo's house for a little tish or whatever.
And we all get just messages in our WhatsApp come around.
Yeah.
It's 8 o'clock at night. I was in my pajamas.
11 p.m. at night.
Yeah.
Literally, 10 p.m. He said come at 10. He showed up at 11. And we're just sitting there. We're just jamming with Hanan Ben Ari. He was there till 3 a.m. So...
the concert went till 3 a.m.
It's...
And it was the best of the concert. It was intimate.
Yeah, it was I guess these guys don't remember. You guys are too young, but MTV Live.
Yeah, unplugged.
But I think Unplugged. Yeah. Right? It was one of those things. But also, Efrat...
Do you guys know who Hanan Ben Ari is? Yeah. Okay, sure.
Yeah. If you don't, you must leave now.
No.
I'm joking. Not really. But No, it's just, but Efrat in general, you have this kollel, you have this shul, you have whatever you need here. You have ruchniut, you have gashmiut, you have chesed, you have just community, you have love, you have growth, and I think that's the biggest thing. And it's a community that's tight knit, and it's a community that is constantly looking to grow, and that's something that I don't think you can. Be'ezrat Hashem is like that in many places in Eretz Yisrael and throughout the world, but here specifically, I feel like it's a special place for those reasons.
Yep, I agree with everything Yosef Aharon just said, so I'm not going to repeat it. Me personally, as I said, I grew up in the entertainment world, music world, so to channel that sort of VIP stardom music experience that I grew up with and got to meet all the greats and be at the greatest events in history, and so have that background and then come to Israel and then you listen to, I don't know if you realize how, like, I'm not going to say something not good, but it wasn't great Jewish music back then in the 90s. Like, it was okay, but if you're coming from a secular music world into the Jewish world and the guys on the keyboard, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is, how am I going to survive musically over here? And thank God, it's so developed, and obviously, as Rabbi Yosef Aharon just said, Shlomo Katz, Rav Shlomo Katz, he's an example of someone who's bringing the panemius of music, and his brother Eitan, and so we'll get into this, but I got involved with a whole booking industry in terms of the Jewish world, and I found Efrat as one of the best places where people are continuously visiting. I would just turn up for Shacharis, and Eitan Katz is davening like a few rows over, and the other day some big Rabbonim walk in from Miami, from Goldberg, and people you want to know, I was just wandering into the shul, and this constant experience of meeting special people, because I don't think it's just about music, it's also about speakers, creatives, rabbis, people who can really inspire, because I didn't want to come to Israel and just be like, as the rabbi said here, a regular sort of classical person. Like, I wanted to be much more than that. Like, I feel like just not putting down that world, but just being a traditional sort of teacher, and it's very respectful, but coming from a world where there was so much impact, I wanted to be able to be part of how we can change the world. As I said, my family put on Live Aid, and if you know what that is, it was the biggest music event in history, and the impact is still felt till today. In fact, they just released a song from that time, with Ed Sheeran and other famous musicians are in the song, Bono, all these people, big people in that world. The legacy continues. How can I contribute from my background and my personality and make an impact on the world? And that's, you need a community. You need a place. You can't do it by yourself. That's the point. You need to have people that understand your vision. And in this community, I get a lot of validation of who I am. And it really empowers me much more to keep going in my larger vision of what I hope for Am Yisrael, a unity experience, etc.
Amazing. Now comes the other side. What are some of the difficulties of living in Eretz Yisrael and also living in Efrat?
Let you answer that one.
Yeah, I got no problem with that. No, it's not so tough. Listen, we know that Eretz Yisrael nikat l'yidei Yisurim. And the first year is not a pashut thing. When you come from America and there are certain things that you're just accustomed to, and just the way bureaucracy works or whatever it may be, or services or customer service or whatever it may be, that's a very simple thing. And I'm going to say something right now that's not politically correct, so I'm going to apologize in advance. Or not really, but I have to say that. One of the difficult things about living in a Fox is that we live next to a bunch of cockroaches. And it's one of those things where there's Torah about these things. Like, there are things that B'ezrat Hashem, when we have a government that understands the needs of the people, and the government should be as focused as our actual Malachei HaSharet are, our soldiers that are on the front lines doing what needs to be done. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the man who's in charge right now is the best person we have possible. I really don't want to get into a political thing, but at the end of the day, there are people in this country that don't belong here, and that makes it difficult for the ones that do. And that's probably my biggest issue.
That would be, for example, they'll work in Efrat. where they shouldn't be. Yeah, that's like the MASHA.
No, they shouldn't be in Eretz Yisrael.
No, but I'm just saying the MASHA, like in terms of the threat.
Well, that's
Like
a
a daily-
that's a given. Yeah, they shouldn't be coming here. They shouldn't be working here.
Because they've been allowed back in. For a while, they weren't allowed to work. and
But
now
that's a symptomatic thing that whatever. That's a lesser problem than what the bigger problem actually is. And the Torah talks about it. You get a toshav, you leave peacefully, or what we're doing in Gaza and Lebanon. It's really simple. It's mamash simple. It's not a complicated thing. And when we follow the Torah, and if we follow the Torah the way that we're supposed to, then it becomes a lot simpler. But L'tzarenu, our leadership doesn't have the same mentality, doesn't have the same mindset.
How does that affect you personally? That's what I want to know. Because remember, we like to do podcasts. We like to actually talk. So how do you feel about it? Like, because I know that's for like the but like when I know my son, he comes out of Gaza and he hears workers next door speaking in Arabic. He's triggered because they've just like been fighting with them, and now that same sort of energy and voice is next door building a house. It's very hard for him. Yeah, like it's a real thing. Yeah, so how does it affect you personally?
I don't think I can really say it.
Yeah, publicly.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. You have to get to know Yosef to find out the real inner reason for Baruch Hashem. So I would say living in Israel and living in Efrat, very similar issues, like the fact that the government and the general character of Israel has not yet understood its spiritual purpose is very frustrating, and it affects your daily experience in terms of trying to build a business, trying to, anything you want to do here, you're going to have to face up to the fact that it's not the ideal system. They're not Baalei Chasodim. They're not here to help you like on a daily basis. They're here to make sure you do what they want and what they need. And it's a little bit painful to see people treat each other that way, and it creates a whole culture that's not, it's not the ideal culture. I hope all of us making Aliyah here, the last, however long we've all been making Aliyah from places like, England and America and France and all the places which hopefully have a bit more, Canada, have a bit more derech eretz, South America, we have a bit more understanding that business needs to be done and a bit more of a trust base. There needs to be more, chasodim and relationships, and all this needs to change. And I think the more we make Aliyah, the more we will impact. I think it's a very slow process as of now, but also the fact that with what we've gone through now with this war has changed the whole nature of the experience. My own son has changed. He's been forced to grow up in a crazy way, and that's impacted our family, and I'm sure all the other families and people that have, God forbid, gone through tragedies. We're very, in pain people. We have a lot of pain and a lot of tragedy, a lot of suffering that we're dealing with and facing with daily. And that is difficult to process and to manage. But the beautiful thing is, once again, we're doing it as a family. That's the difference. So that's the comfort. And we're doing it in our home rather than outside somewhere else. And so even though there are things like Yosef brought up that we really urgently need to fix because it's endangering our people, literally, putting our lives at risk, having this previous situation and allowing it to come back, God forbid. But we do have to change, and I think all of us need to take on that responsibility to be the change and to influence our surroundings and bring more good-natured, good people who have impact to the infrastructure of Israel, and that will improve our experience in a way we can't even imagine.
I want to say one more thing, and it's this week's parasha as well, right? So
yeah,
the one event in the Torah that most resembled, to a certain extent, what happened on Shabbat Simchat Torah was the story with Dinah, right? Dinah and Shechem. And I want you guys to do some homework. Go back and take a look at what the Rambam says on that story, and what the Ramban says on that story,
yeah,
and what the Gur Aryeh says on that story. When we live our lives according to the Torah, it becomes a lot simpler. Just do it for yourselves. I didn't say it. Just go and look. You guys are learned boys.
Yeah.
Go, take a look, and you'll see. And you'll see exactly what I'm referring to and why I said what I said.
So right here, Rav Shlomo quoted a rabbi to the Machon, because the Rav Yaakov is part of the Machon Zmirat Haeretz. And he gives a private shir. I don't know if this is public, but I'm going to throw in something. He mentioned the name of a Rav who does exactly what you said, but takes it even further. His name's Rav Yosef Mizrahi. So he'll say, I'm not saying this. It's in the Torah itself. And that's the point. Meaning,
But that's
don't blame anyone for saying the truth.
It's emet.
The truth needs to be said, and it's quite a strong approach, but the truth needs to be known. Yeah.
Was that shit given last year?
It was here, just like a week ago or something. He mentioned, he mentioned Motta Frank that year.
Oh, I think I missed that. I think I actually happened to miss that shit.
Yeah, it was a special one.
I was like, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Amazing. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to ask one question to each of you. Just to go into more specifics about what makes you amazing people. So first for Eli. Eli, would you care to explain to us what is, one, Unity Music, or Uni Bookings, right?
Yeah.
Uni Bookings. What is the Midnight Rabbi? And then also, I guess it's like encompassing those two questions, how do you use your unique skills and upbringing to inspire Am Yisrael to reach out to Jews?
So I'm very happy that Rabbi Yaakov brought this up, because I've been working on this. We met originally through Rav Shalom Moresh, so I was helping him to share his Amunah Global, and Rabbi Yosef wandered in a few times to come meet with him, and that's how we became connected originally. So I've been working in the space of speakers and rabbis, and before that I was involved with charity that did big events, and I worked for Yeshivat Har Etzion, if you know who they are. And the first year when it opened up, Yeshivat Har Etzion, they brought in a lot of musicians. And I was already online connected to a lot of people like Nissan Black when he was converting, or I'd even before that, how I found out Nissan Black was I was helping a guy called Shine Poe. He didn't even become Jewish in the end, or maybe he did, but he didn't. I don't know. He's in now trying to be the PM of Belize, funny enough. He just put out a documentary on hula. I could even be in it. But the point is, I don't know, hopefully not. Anyway, the point is that I was coming from that space of being online and being involved with musicians, and even when I was in yeshiva, I used to do kumzits. I did, like I said, I didn't come to Israel just to be a quiet yeshiva bacher. I made events. I wanted people to get inspired, and I had kumzits all the time in my time of yeshiva. When I left, apparently they stopped happening. Anyway, I carried it on throughout, and I made events for the yeshiva world, and we did a few big band events back in the day. We had 1,000 people at the Great Synagogue, and people like the Solomon Brothers in a different Gilgal were there, and other famous guys you probably heard about, and like Laser Lloyd, other people. Anyway, the point was I was very involved in that space. But what I wanted to do was to take it to a new level when I stopped with Rav Osh, and I was even thinking about it way before, this concept of unity bookings. Nissan Black always used to tell me when he asked me to be his manager and eventually his booking agent, he said to me, can you create an agency or something? So I'll be one of your artists, but you're not only relying on me to be your main guy. There's lots of people. And I said, yeah, I think I will. And he has a lot of people around him that I also represent, and plus it grew into speakers and creatives and comedians and all kinds of different mentalists, all the different spaces of entertainment that there are in the Jewish world, in a kosher way, obviously. And the point was they're all inspirational people who are role models. One of them, I did a big event, Rudy Rochman, in England not so long ago, and that was packed. My family went, so that was very inspiring for me to know that I was able to influence my family in London to hear someone who's more towards our wavelength than someone they would hear generally in London. And they all went to the event, and it was a big success. There's been so many things that I've been involved with over the years. Just helping a friend of mine, he made a huge wedding in Amsterdam, and bringing Alex Clare, 18 Cats, the whole band, bringing the whole Shira choir, working with singers so seeing the effect that music has, and unity being my goal, as you've sort of come up with, and it has to be unity based on truth, like Yosef's saying. So the idea, we have to find people who are truthful people to represent and put them out there more and more and more. Like we just did an event with Nissan Black in Tel Aviv. This was Thursday night, and he's speaking to all these Tel Avivi guys, and he's telling the truth. He's not going to change it for them. He's going to tell his journey and his truth and his message, and he's going to be Nissan Black. He's not. These are real people, authentic people, and one of the problems in politics is they're always like trying to please everyone. Or even it can happen even in yeshivas, you're trying to please the crowd. We're not trying to please the crowd. We're trying to inspire the crowd to change. And that takes a bit of strength and inner strength and understanding who you are. So all these people have that. Unity Bookings is the name of the company, and Unity Music, bringing unity through music, is the goal. And to explain the other name, Midnight Rabbi, that came about as a different time period where I was 5 years on the streets of Yerushalayim helping teenagers at risk, and ended up also in Telstein as well around that time. And it was an amazing experience being up all night with kids and helping them and learning with them and keeping in touch with them. I'm still connected to many of them. And when I've traveled to America, they've taken me out for lunch because we're still in contact, and seen a lot of payments come out for it, and from them, from myself. And it's the idea is being Moser Nefesh Am Yisrael, which is what we're going to hear a bit about from Yosef in a minute. Really going out there and giving time, going out, not sleeping a night, not being fully available for the family, which was my wife's Mesiras Nefesh, so she gets the most credit for all that. Imagine we had little kids. We're talking about a family of 6 kids. And I was up all night, every night, for about 5 years. Yeah? And then not only that, I bring them all back for Shabbos, a whole crew of them. So my wife now has to cook for them all. And, it was just endless, just giving and caring and connecting. And Baruch Hashem, I feel that was one of the best times of my life. And I feel very grateful that I was able to do that in Yerushalayim and touch on many souls.
Before we move on, could you just share us one or two stories that from either side, from either Midnight Rabbi or Unity Bookings, that just encapsulate?
Okay, so one, I want to say that the story that really changed my life, I would say, was seeing the impact. So I'm trying to think of a story that really there's so many stories, so many things I've done, and I didn't really think of one specific. I would say that just sometimes the Mesiras Nefesh that you have to have, for example, traveling with Nissim Black when I was on tour with him, was very, very powerful. Going from city to city, we traveled 1 week, 3 times over the Atlantic. And in order to do Kiddush Levana, we landed in Eretz Yisrael, we did Kiddush Levana. We then went to perform in Ramat Gan, and literally after that event, we went back to the airport and got on the plane. Now, his wife had just had a baby that week. And we didn't even, after getting off the plane and getting back on the plane, we didn't even go see her. We didn't get out of Ramat Gan other than the airport. And we went straight back. We ended up in Miami for Purim. And the rabbi I'm still connected with. And, he has a big shul there in Miami. And he still talks to me about his kids and stuff. And just the impacts. I meet people still that remember that Purim. And the event that Nissim performed, and me personally being the manager, schlepping him out of bed, making sure we make these flights and making it back in time for a bris, which he had Erev Shabbos that same week. And the weekend before, we just performed Times Square for C-Teen, and we were still recovering from that whole Chabad experience, and we'd already done an event in Israel, and then we're back in Miami, and then we're back in Israel, and just that constant Mesiras Nefesh on the planes, and just reminding yourself that you're not about you. It's not just about what's comfortable for you. You're thinking about these communities, and they're wanting inspiration. They're wanting encouragement. And right now, so I don't have to travel as much. Like me going to Tel Aviv is an unusual thing. Usually I don't go out so much anymore to the events unless they need me or some reason, or it's more local. But because I can coordinate a lot of things just by being here. And what does that enable me now? Enables me, Baruch Hashem, to be more available for my family, which has become more of a priority. Because I really do believe that the key to success and really impacting Am Yisrael is to make sure you have good shalom bayis and good hinuch. That's where you got to find your soulmate. You got to build a home, and remember that's really the priority at the end of it all. And that will give you the biggest strength to really impact. So that's my hope and praise that by us becoming more unified in our homes, we'll have more ability to unify as a people.
Thank you, Yosef.
Yes.
So why don't you explain to us what is Meals for Heroes, just one chesed, and how did it start?
Be kind.
Where did it start? Where's it going? And where do you project it to be in the future?
So Baruch Hashem, as I said, we made Aliyah it was July of 2021. It was Corona. It was also Ramadan. So when we first got here, we were in Bedud for 2 weeks, and after Bedud we had to go shopping, and we didn't have the Zayit Mall here yet. Everyone said go to Rami Levy, but my wife, because it was Ramadan, was scared to go to Rami Levy by herself. She's like, Yosef, please come with me. So I went to Rami Levy.
Are you still coming with her?
No. So we went to Rami Levy. And again, it's her first time shopping in Eretz Yisrael, and everything's in Hebrew, and she doesn't speak it. And it's like a lot of Google Translate, and it doesn't make sense. And it really took a lot longer than I would have liked. So we get home, and I said to her, baby, I love you. I can't do this again. I'm going to drop you off at Rami Levy, and I'm just going to sit at Hummus ELIYAHU right there at the Tzomet. I'm just going to have some hummus, have a couple of cigarettes, just hang out, whatever. I quit smoking since then, BORUCH Hashem. It's been over 3 years, thank God. And whatever. So that's what happened for the next 10 weeks. And every time I was sitting there, so a lot of Chayalim walking in. Became friendly with the owner, and every time Chayalim walked in, I looked at Shlomi, who was the owner back then. I was like, Shlomi, Alay. This was happening for like 3 months, and it started getting really expensive. So I said, I got to do something.
He was covering their bill if you didn't get it. I've seen him do it. We went out to eat the other day, thanks to the podcast. Someone sponsored us, whatever. So we went out to eat, and there was a whole bunch of soldiers walked in, and his wife sees, oh, here we go. And within a short moment, he's gone to the waitress. The whole meal, all their meals are covered. You know, and it wasn't a cheap. It was Rosa. You know, Rosa's not like, it wasn't like hummus ELIYAHU or something. It was a higher level.
Anyway.
Sorry.
I tried to create my own non-for-profit, and the bureaucracy here in Eretz Yisrael is worse than it is in America, thank God. So that didn't work out. And I was in contact with another organization trying to do something, and we were going back and forth as to how it would work for 8 months, and then they finally said, you know, we can't do it. So I finally went to Jerry Latinik, who is a hidden tzaddik, and he's the CEO of Just One Chesed. He also happens to be family through marriage. And I said, this is what I want to do. He's like, it's not necessarily the Just One Chesed model, but raise funds and we'll make it happen. So in about 4 weeks, I raised $35,000. And I said, great, now we can open up, we can do this for a year.
How do you think they paid for the merch?
So we started February 1st of 2023. So before the war actually started, anytime any chayal in uniform sat down to eat at Hummus ELIYAHU, it was limited to 10 meals a day, but they ate for free. And then I went to America for my niece's wedding. Went to go see my former boss, told her what I was doing, wrote me a check for 25 grand. So we added a second restaurant right after Pesach. And then we added a third restaurant literally right before Shivat Tammuz. And then the war happened. And I literally became the food delivery guy for the Chayalim in Gush Etzion. Whether it was Chet Mar Etzion, it was Karmei Tzur, it was Tzur Hadassah, it was Panorama, Heradion, whatever. I would get phone calls, we just got out of Jenin, we just got out of Husan, we just got out of here, we just got out of there, we want burger spot, we want sushi, we want pizza, we want whatever. Can you help us? Long story short, since February of 23, February 23, we just hit the 50,000 meal mark. I've done...
Come on guys, let's give it a clap.
I've done over 40 barbecues. And now we just added a fourth restaurant, Falafel Tzinani in the Dagan. Right there next to Siftach. It's the fourth place that when they go to sit down and
good
eat,
falafel.
they eat for free.
Beautiful view as well.
So during the time, I had a business in Florida. I had a liquidation business. I had a medical supply business. Instead of spending time on my business, I was spending 50 to 60 hours a week fundraising and delivering food to our Malachei HaSharet. And they really are Malachei HaSharet. And I tell them every day when I see them or when I deliver the food or whatever it may be, that when they finally realize that they are actual Malachei HaSharet, that's when we'll win the war. Not just the war in Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, the actual real war that we have in the nation as well. Just One Chesed, since the beginning of the war, has given out over $7 million worth of aid, over 4,500 bulletproof vests, over 1,000 helmets, 30 drones. We're an organization that really just tries to create a movement of chesed. That's what we're trying to do.
They're doing it. We all contribute. Everyone's helped in some way.
We're doing kindness booths. Yeah. Like we literally go out into the middle of nowhere, and we just go up to people randomly and say, "Here, say something to Helen for the injured soldiers. Here's 2 candy, 1 for you. Give 1 to somebody else. Make a bracha. Call somebody you haven't spoken to in a long time and tell them you love them." Just that's what chesed is. It doesn't have to be a big grandiose thing. Literally smiling to somebody down the street and saying Boker Tov is a chesed, because we don't know what's going on in their mind during that day. Mamash, the littlest thing. Just One Chesed is now thinking post-war, whatever that means. Avodat Hashem, we're looking to build a Chayal center and have a retreat area for...
They need it so much.
For them to go and unwind, and mental health, which is something that the entire nation is going to need, but we're going to start with the Chayalim at first. And I no longer have my businesses, and I work for Just One Chesed full time.
Congrats.
It was one of those things where B'makom she'en ish, tiye ish.
Yeah, have to be the man.
Right? There was a need, and it spoke to me. I felt like I needed to do it. And it's not necessarily the food itself that gives them the koach, it's the thought that there are people throughout the entire world that are literally sponsoring these meals for them, just to give them a little bit more koach, just to give them just to let them know that we support them and we love them, and we got their backs. They got our backs, we got their backs.
As a parent, I know in the deepest place, they need this. They need this. It's like survival. It's not. It's literally koach nefesh. It's even more crucial than the training and the general morale that the army can generate is the impact that when they come back, how they are received and treated by us.
But even beyond that, Just One Chesed started in 2014, and it started as a technology company, an app company. Like it's an app where we are in 30 different schools, and we've made it interactive, and there are ambassadors to do chesed, and the schools that have chesed hours, requirements, whatever, it gets tracked. The one who does the most chesed for the week or the month or whatever it is, they get coins, they can redeem it for swag or gifts or whatever. So like we're really creating a movement of doing the right thing, because at the end of the day, Olam Chesed Yibaneh.
Yep.
That's what's going to help us bring the ultimate and final redemption, Be'ezrat Hashem, and that stems from Chesed, which stems from Achdut, and it stems from doing what's right, according to the Torah, not according to what society tells you is right.
And that's how we called our podcast the Real Kindness Podcast, because we've been living it.
Oh, we're about to get to that question.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
No, but also like the first podcast that we spoke about, right? The real kindness. What's the ultimate kindness? Yeah. The ultimate kindness is what our Chayalim were doing at that time in Gaza. Yeah. They're eradicating Amalek.
But what was the first?
So I'll ask the question first. Yeah. First of all, I just want to say, after just rehearing and hearing more details, you two are the coolest people ever. I just want to say that.
Appreciate that.
Really, just everyone should just give them another round of applause.
All credits to our Ashes Files.
So the last question, then we'll have time for probably a question or two, is to tell us about your podcast. How did it start? And what's the goal of the podcast?
Started here last year
with your boys, your students.
Mamash, we sat here.
Wonderful Bochum of.
We sat here and we did this last year, and I went over to Eli afterwards. Like,
Har Etzion.
We make a pretty good team.
Yeah,
we should do something. What are we doing? So we started the podcast. That's really what it came to. And again, it's really it's about chesed. It's about kindness.
Because you guys took out time to listen to our story, that made us feel like we've got something to offer beyond than just what we do. So that gave us that extra boost of confidence to say maybe we could do this like on a weekly level. So right now we haven't been so weekly because we've got a lot going, and actually we're doing. It's not always so easy to actually sit down and talk about it in a podcast format. but the most important thing is that we're actually living it and doing it, which is part of the real kindness flow. But at the same time, we need to, every so on, it's so powerful for me and for the people who listen to just realize that this is real, this is happening. Like, we really are helping Am Yisrael as much as we can, me through the event world and booking world and through connecting speakers to communities and etc, etc, etc. And Yosef Aharon is doing it like in a, you just heard. I mean, it's like changing the whole situation for the soldiers, for Am Yisrael, becoming more focused on kindness, and that is what is going to bring the Gula. So we should ask them now for questions, before we finish.
Yeah, we're going to open it up for questions.
So whoever has a question,
Clothing is a very important mark of identity. How do you think clothing has shaped your independent Jewish journeys?
Wow.
Whoa. By the way, you should just as a
that was a good question.
I don't know if it's because of what they're wearing, if that's why you're asking the question. But you should know, and I feel ashamed to say this now, but when it was sprung upon me, you guys don't understand. It was supposed to be the Old City Shabbaton last year. That's when this first thing happened, and it got canceled because of the war. And I think Rav Bernstein literally texted me, says, "What do you think about just switching the Shabbaton to Efrat?" And I was like this next week, in 3 weeks? He goes, "No, that week." And then he's like, wherever it goes, he's like, "All right, what do you think from Motzei Shabbos? Like, what can we do in Efrat in the beginning of the war?" And I was like, "Nothing. There's nothing to do." It's like, "Well, get some speakers or do something." So I was like, who would be the two most interesting people? And I was in Shachas, I saw you, Zali, or it was maybe probably Mincham Live, and you guys sitting in the back together, and I was like, Bernstein, I got two people. Perfect. I don't think you ever spoke together you never did a public.
No.
So it's clearly Siyata D'Shmaya.
Yeah.
And I just moved here, and I felt like the most chutzpahdik person going up to two random people and being like, "Hey, you look interesting." Must be the Yeshiva
Crazy.
kid? Yeah, literally. But really just Siyata D'Shmaya. Okay, no, go ahead.
Yeah, so his question is really important, like the idea of how the Chitzonius is more of the Pneumius, you learn in Mesilat Yesharim, and you have to work on that aspect, you have to pay due to it. Obviously, it's not the Ikar. The Ikar is, once again, we're learning all the time here, the Pneumius, the inner world, your inner connection to Hashem and to Torah mitzvahs, but the way you dress does impact. So this is my Shabbos clothing, Yom Tov clothing. During the week, I'm more with the swag and the baseball caps and stuff personally, and Yosef is more in his sort of jacket, army style, getting out, doing stuff. Tachlis.
This is my Beged Shabbat.
Yeah,
I'll tell you the story. We were living in Boca, and my parents were coming to us for Sukkot, and friends of theirs got stuck in Boca. They were supposed to go back to New York. They couldn't go back. My dad's like, "Can they come for Sukkot too?" I'm like, "Sure." So they came. They stayed by us for Sukkot. They couldn't get flights back for whatever reason. I don't know exactly. I don't remember the whole story. They stayed throughout Chol HaMoed. They stayed Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah and whatever. And they left. And then they came back the following year, and they came back with two of these. One, this one, the green one, and I have a gold one as well.
For Yom Tov, yeah?
Right. So at that moment, I happened to have been learning, going over Hilchot Shabbat, and I was learning about having a Beged Shabbat. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this my Beged Shabbat.
Yeah.
So this is my Beged Shabbat. I wear it in the States.
You wouldn't get past the border guys who was wearing this in the week.
No, the crazy thing is that I started growing out. I decided to grow up my beard. I haven't shaved Baruch Hashem since Pesach, and I used to never get stopped at the Machon going to Yerushalayim, and now literally every time, they're like, "What's up, guy?" But and when I first started wearing this in Efrat, literally people came up to me like, "It's not Purim." I'm like,
that's what they saw when they saw me.
Do you wear a Beged Shabbat? So that's my.
Maybe just describe where does it traditionally come from as well.
Traditionally, this is Moroccan. It's called a jalabia or a kaftan. I am not Moroccan, but I am Sephardi.
You're married to Morocco.
My wife is half Moroccan. Yes, her mother is Moroccan. Her father is 5th generation American from Brookline, Massachusetts. But yes, this is a Moroccan garb, jalabia, kaftan. Just call it whatever you want. Just don't call it a dress. Okay.
And this is a backshun Astronomer, just in case.
Any other questions?
Next
Yes.
Anyone else? No?
That's it.
Wow.
That's all, folks.
No more questions? Yeah,
Don't
go
we-
ahead. There
yes.
In terms of, at least you told us how you had former jobs. Well, how was it making that decision to completely devote all your working towards Chesed? It's a very impressive decision. I can imagine how it must have felt to. Can you elaborate on it?
Yeah, it was simple. It was a simple
We did
No-
struggle
no-
with it a little bit.
I struggled with the fact that I wasn't making money, but I did struggle with the fact that I needed to make that decision. It needed to happen. It just is one of those things. When I went to Yeshiva, I went to BMT, which is now Shraga in Beit Vegan. And after Shraga, I wanted to join the army. And my father, being the wise man that he is, said, yeah, no problem. Just come to America, do college, go to YU. And then after YU, go to the army. Knowing full well that wasn't going to happen. So to me, it's, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of guilt that I didn't do what I thought I should have done, or whatever it may be. But to me, I mamash look at it as a zchut that I get to work with and serve and lefanek malachei hasharet, because they really are. They really, really are. And we learned something last week. I think when Shlomo said it. If you take the word malach and you mix, the letters,
Yeah.
ki mechakim anachnu lach, right? You take the letters. Malachim are waiting for their pekudah, and our malachei hasharet are waiting for their pekudah to do what they need to do.
Hey.
What's up? So, that's my son, Mikey.
Pleasure.
So,
We're going to ask him to perform a song in a minute.
Oh, fun. You are?
no, we're not.
Oh.
We're not. What's going on? He's not here.
Alright,
Okay.
bye.
So yeah, it was a simple decision in the sense that it needed to be done, and like I said before, and that's
Amazing. Any more questions, guys? Yes.
What school did you go to in London?
Ah, Londoner. Love it. It's crazy, because if you go back to my history, it's pretty beyond words that I made it out of there. Because I went to Edgware School, which is a real state school, council estate. I met all kinds of refugees, all kinds of kids from the lowest backgrounds. I was one of the only Jews there. And then I went to a private school because, that's like the next stage. My parents wanted me to actually get educated. So other than the
and not
tutors I
beaten
had-
up every day.
No, there was beating. It was a combination back and forth. But now I was starting, and that was the question that kept coming up. How is it? Because I ended up in John Lyons, which is on Aharon Hill. Yeah. So how did it end up in these kind of schools and yet constantly drawn towards Jewish kids, finding them through a youth movement or the street culture, or always found my way towards Jewish people. So that was my burning question. Why do I keep drawing myself and being pushed away, literally? Because I did get beaten up by non-Jewish guys, really badly at some point. And I kept thinking, it's almost like they knew I was there, because I had a bunch of other friends with me and they didn't touch them. They just beat up the Jew boy. So that was a big push inside of me, I have to figure out this question. So John Lyons, and then I ended up in a place called Woodhouse. It's funny because my niece has just gone there. At Woodhouse College, and then I ended up in University of Sussex, Brighton, and I just became very spiritual by that point, by university. But before that, I was still, finding myself. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We have time for, I think, one more last question.
One more. Ask whatever you want.
So anyone have a question? Okay, so just, Yosef, if you could actually just, I know you've said the story on the podcast, I think already twice, but can you give us the story about the ani from the Artika? I think that'd be a great way to end.
The hotel is my happy place. I try to go to the hotel at least once a week. I've gotten mechubar to two, we'll call them aniyim, two people who ask for tzedakah. Those are the only two people I get stuck to. I'm not saying that the others aren't legit or whatever. Those are the two that whenever I go, I I have money on me, I give them. When I don't have money, they're like, can you give me something to eat? And I'll go to the shawarma place and, the yellow awning over there. His name is Shmuel. He's awesome. I'll go get something from there. It was probably, I want to say the end of October, beginning of November. Beginning of November last year. Just did my first barbecue. We did it at Yeshivat Har Etzion for like 500 soldiers. It was out of control. And I'm walking in the old city and I'm about to see one of them, but I bump into a friend of mine that I haven't seen in decades. Hey, what's going on? How you doing? Whatever. What are you up to? I told him, organization, just one chesed. I'm fundraising for them. I just did a barbecue. Oh my God, that's crazy. How much does it cost per person? I told him it's about 100 shekel a head. Whatever. So I go, I see the ani, give him some money. Then I see him continuously for the next, 4 or 5 weeks. And then I go back again 5 or 6 weeks later, whatever it is. And he wasn't in his normal spot. And he's like, hey, am I going to see you later? I'm like, yeah. It's like, I'm reaching into my pocket to give him something. He's like, no, not today. It's like, just give me something to eat. I'm like, I'll do both. No, not today. Just give me something to eat. All right, no problem. And I was there with my wife's cousin. We're very close. They made Aliyah last summer. They live in Netanya. So we tried to meet up like once a week. When I go to the Kotels, he tried to meet me. So he was there as well with his younger son, who's now he's 12. And he goes and he eats a sandwich or whatever it is. And then he leaves. He's like, I'm going to see you later, right? I'm like, yeah, I'll see you in a little bit. No worries. So then I walk by and I go see him and I shake his hand to give him and he put a wad of cash in my hand. He put a wad of cash in my hand. I look at it, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, you have to take it. I'm like, okay, why? He's like, Yosef, you have to. I'm like, okay, why? He said, do you remember 4 or 5 weeks ago, you bumped into your friend, you were telling him about the barbecue. I want to help with the barbecue for Chayalim. I'm like, listen. He's like, I know it's not everything, but it's for 50 Chayalim. He handed me 5,000 shek. Okay, I didn't have a barbecue planned. I didn't have anything coming up. He's like, you promised me you'll lose. I'm like, okay, no problem. And again, I know this guy because I'm going to the hotel once a week, and every time I go, I give him tzedakah or I give him food or whatever it may be. So I walk down the steps, I go, I dive into the hotel, say some tehillim, I come back, I get in my car, and I receive a phone call. This was a Tuesday. I receive a phone call, hey, what's going on? I'm like, hey, listen, I have some MASHA money I need to give. I want to do something for soldiers. If I give you $1,500, does that help? I'm like, yeah. It helps. He's like, all right, awesome, send me the link. All right, great. So I'm getting a little closer. Most bases, it's got to be a minimum of like 150 soldiers. I'm not even joking. 5 minutes later, I get another phone call. Hey, my name is so-and-so. I got your number from ABC. I heard that you do barbecues for soldiers. I'm coming in on Thursday. I want to do something on Sunday. I got about $1,500. Can we do something? I'm like, we can. So I put it all together. That Sunday I did a barbecue in Shirat David for 88883. And take pictures and videos and whatever it may be. And then I give it to my marketing girl and she creates a video. So the next time I went back to the Kotel was the following Wednesday. I had the video. But this guy doesn't have a smartphone. I can't send him the video. So I go and I'm sitting there. I'm like, hey, I got something to show you. So imagine I'm him, I'm sitting down, and I'm standing behind him, and he's looking at my phone. And I can't see his face, he's looking at my phone. It's about a 1.5-minute video. When the video ended, he turned around and he had tears rolling down his face. Thank you so much for giving me the zchut to be mesameach chayalim. This is a guy that collects tzedakah. I don't even think you know the next part of the story, which is insanity. Every time for the next 2 months that I saw him, Yosef, you have no idea what you did for me, that video. I don't know. Okay, great. I'm so happy. Baruch Hashem, that's great, amazing. But 2 months later, I go see him. I come to reach to give him money. No. Say, okay, no. What's up? Like, what's going on? I need to talk to you. All right, talk. No, we got to talk on the side. My mom felt like we're doing like a drug deal. I don't know what's going on here. We go off to the side. We go into the alley, and I'm like, yeah, what's up? He's like, okay, so I want to do a barbecue for like a whole unit. I want to do the whole thing. I mean, we're talking like 200 soldiers. Does that work? I'm like, yeah, it's 20. Yeah. I'm like, listen. He's like, for the past 2 months, I've collected specifically for the barbecue, and I'm giving you my MASHA money from the money that I collected. Please do this. When you have a venue, when you have it ready, you have set up, call me. I'll meet you the day before, and I'll give you the money. That's exactly what happened. The day of, the day to pick up the thing, I call him up. Like, all right, I'll meet you at so-and-so. We're doing the barbecue the next day. He's like, okay, great. 5 minutes before I'm supposed to be there, he calls me up, frantic. Oh my God, Yosef, I don't know what happened. What? I only have 19,200. Can you? I'm like, you're good. Mamish handed me 20,000 shekel in cash to do a barbecue for the Chaylim. This is Am Yisrael. That's these types of things are what give me koach to keep going and keep doing, because it's not simple. You know, going from having your own business and doing what you were doing and you know.
Let's give a bracha to him because I've got to bounce. So,
okay.
So I want to give you all a bracha. I'm a Kohen and I'm in the merit of Yosef and all the amazing chasodim. Everyone here, you've got to think about it. We asked this last year as well. What can you do to make an impact? What can you do as a kindness, even within your yeshiva dorms, to each other, as friends, to the rabbis' families, if you know soldiers going through stuff, if you want to get involved with Just One Chesed, you want to get involved more with Shirat David or the Unity bookings, whatever way you can impact, think about it, actually make a haklata, make a decision and do something about it, because it's not just about thinking, it's about doing, and with that, you will be blessed with everything you need to be able to make aliyah in a good time, and with your family and with your friends, and we should be zocher, all of us, to the gula shlema and the merit of all these kind of diburim and chasodim, zocher to Mashiach to Keinu b'mhei b'meinu. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you again for Eli and Yosef.
Thank you.
Guys, the boss.
Yeah, let's do a picture.